Good morning, everybody. Hello, welcome to our morning meeting. We're here with Fern, our beautiful barred owl ambassador this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about her and her species. So come on in, let me know your name, where you're from, and I'll give you all a shout out. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're here again this morning with another one of our non-releasable ambassadors at the Center for Wildlife. We are in York, Maine, and we are a wildlife medical clinic as well as an education nature center. So we have a team of 30 ambassador animals that live with us permanently. These guys can't be released back out into the wild for a lot of different reasons. Fern here is one of our owl ambassadors. Good morning, Fern. And she was unfortunately hit by a car. Fern is a barred owl, B-A-R-R-E-D, and they are called barred owls for all of the bars and stripes that they have all over their feathers. They're very common around here. You've probably heard them before, whether you knew you were hearing an owl or not. They're famous for saying something that kind of sounds like, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" But they can also sound froggy or screechy or like monkeys. So there are a lot of different types of calls that these guys can make, but you've probably heard them if you live in our area. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Yvette. Hello. Fern would like to just make everyone aware of the fact that she is currently molting. So if you guys are looking at her eyes and seeing that it kind of looks like she didn't get enough sleep last night, that is why. She is currently molting. They molt over the course of about a month during the summer when it's really warm. They kind of start by molting all of their downy feathers close to their body, and then they'll molt the longer feathers around their wings, and then the feathers along their faces, they kind of molt at the peak of summer. And these feathers around her eyes have actually completely fallen out and are growing back in. And this is a normal process that happens once a year, but it just makes her look a little sleepy. So we apologize for Fern's appearance, but it is a part of keeping her feathers healthy and helping her to stay in good condition. So it's a good thing. Kristen, we are usually open to the public, yes, but currently we are only doing pre-reserved tours of our center, and you can look and see more about those on our website. Our tours are just limited to a certain number of people at certain times, just to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to keep everybody socially distanced and healthy. So you can read more about those on our website. Good morning, Robin and Charlie in South Portland. Good morning, Sue and Wyndham. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to turn the camera around so you guys can get a good look at Fern. She again is, looking a little sorry right now, but it's all a normal part of her yearly rhythm. So here, we'll flip the camera for you guys. Good morning, Miss Fern. Oh my goodness. So you guys can see they actually have teeny tiny little feathers around their eyes. All of these teeny tiny feathers are actually very important for their ability to hear. The large ring of feathers that goes around her face is called her facial disc, and this actually kind of acts like a satellite dish for her ears. So when she is hearing, these little feathers are actually very important to help tune into sound. They help make everything a little bit louder, kind of like when we cup our ears to help us to hear. And the little tiny feathers on her eyes, she actually has little tiny eyelashes. I'll see if I can focus on those. She has teeny tiny little feathers around her eyes that look just like eyelashes, and she has molted those. And the skin around her eyes is dark, so that's why it looks like she is a little bit sleep deprived. But she is just in the process of growing back those feathers around her eyes. Good morning, Theo. Hello. Good morning, Christina and Ashley. Hello. Fern also, as a raptor, has some really amazing adaptations to help her hunt. So she has a lot of adaptations that allow her to catch her food very, very effectively. So she has this sharp curved beak that's a little long at the moment, so we'll trim that. But she has a long curved beak that's actually pointed down so that it doesn't disrupt all those feathers around her eyes. And then she also has these beautiful talons down here that are quite large. So she is going to use these to grab and hold on to her food. The word raptor actually just means to grab or to grasp. So these talons are really central to what makes raptors unique and special. Good morning, Vanny in Tigerton, Wisconsin. Hello. Yeah, so she is a beautiful, beautiful bird. Fern was originally brought to us after she was hit by a car. She unfortunately sustained a good amount of head trauma. So she has some neurological injuries, some brain damage that don't allow her to survive on her own in the wild anymore. She doesn't really seem to fear us very much at all. Normal owls should be flying away from people, so if you see an owl in the wild, it's probably likely you're not going to get too close to it because it'll fly away. Wild animals are supposed to think of humans as big scary predators, and when they get too nice or too friendly or don't respond that way is when they get into trouble. So we knew that there was something going on with Fern when we had her as a patient amongst 4 other barred owls that were all injured as well and rehabilitating. They were all living together, and those owls would freak out when we went into their enclosure. They would fly around, they would act like they didn't want to be around us, which is good, but Miss Fern here would kind of just sit on the ground and look up at us and say, "Do you have food?" So we knew there was something going on because she was not really responding to humans the way that normally an owl would. So we assessed her, and we also found that she couldn't really, she gets unbalanced on her feet sometimes. She tends to do this thing called stargazing, where they look up at the sky and kind of just arc their heads back. So she was deemed non-releasable due to these neurological issues. She can still preen herself very well. She can still fly and get around her enclosure. She lives with Byron, our other male barred owl. But she can't really go back out into the wild. We don't think that she would be able to hunt very well or to stay away from predators very well. If she was just out there sitting on the ground in the wild, something would get her very fast. So she's going to live with us. We think that she came in as a first-year bird, that she was hunting near the roads. This happens frequently with especially young birds who are kind of desperate, don't have a lot of resources or territories. They go to roads because roads typically have lots of roadkill or small mammals running around them that are attracted there by our litter, by food and trash that we throw out of our cars. So that will typically attract small rodents, and then those small rodents attract predators, and then the roadkill attracts scavengers, and so the whole food chain is really negatively impacted when we throw food out of our car window, and it's a really easy way to help protect these guys. So that's Fern's helpful lesson, is that she helps to teach people about staying safe on roads and how to keep our wildlife safe on the road. Good morning, Susan. She is so beautiful even when she looks a little disheveled. Good morning, Andy. Thank you so much. We think she is too. She really gets along well with Byron, her enclosure mate. She eats well. We actually have her on diet sometimes because she likes to eat a lot. So she's a big girl. Usually with raptors, the females are quite a bit larger than the males, but she's about twice as big as Byron in her weight. So she's definitely a fan of her food. And the two of them, because it's been warmer lately, have been leaving a lot of leftovers. They're like, "I can't eat anymore. It's so hot." Good morning, Peter. Hello. Good morning, Naomi from Rhode Island. Hello, everybody. Good morning, Catherine. Hello. I'm going to flip the camera again so that you guys can get a good look at Miss Fern. I wanted to show you guys some of the cool adaptations on her feathers because they're on beautiful display right now. So Fern is going to molt a lot of her feathers every year, and You can actually kind of tell how old an owl is, whether they've recently been hatched and have grown all their feathers in new, or whether they are, a first-year bird or second-year bird based on the feathers that they've recently grown in. So if you look at these feathers on Miss Fern here, you can see this really amazing little edge to her feathers. So that's the front edge of her feather, the one that would cut through the wind the most. That's called a fluted edge that it looks like the teeth of a comb. And that actually helps Fern to fly almost completely silently. So she is able to fly through the woods at night and make very little noise, so she can sneak right up on her predators. I don't know if you can see back here, but she's also molting the feathers on the back of her head, so she's got a lot of fluff missing back there. Good morning, Marie. She is very relaxed. That's just something about Fern. That's one of the reasons we have her, is because she's way too comfortable around people. We didn't have to get her used to us. She kind of just does this. She was, she came to us doing this because of her brain damage. Barred owls do tend to be a little bit more relaxed of a species, but Byron, for example, isn't even as relaxed as Miss Fern. Although they all definitely get to know us very well and are comfortable with their handlers. But we didn't have to teach her to do this. We didn't have to spend any time really getting her used to us. She kind of just sat there and seemed to go with the flow from the beginning. Good morning, Nevitz. Good morning, Katie. Hello, good morning. The other thing that Fern is showing us really well right now is how far she can turn her head around. So there's one of somebody back there doing some dishes, and she is turning her head to kind of hear what's going on around her. So she is able to spin her head all the way backwards to see behind her. And so she can actually turn her head 270 degrees around to see behind her, which a lot of people will say owls can turn their heads all the way around, which is kind of true, kind of not. They can turn their heads all the way backwards, which is amazing and very impressive and more than what we can do, but it's not technically all the way around. They can spin their heads to see all the way backwards behind them and then kind of a little bit extra, and then what they can do is swivel their heads all the way back around to the front and then go back around the other way. So it looks like they're spinning their heads all the way around, but if they really were spinning their heads all the way around, they would not be attached to their bodies anymore. So they can spin their heads, there you go, nice job, Fern. They can spin their heads about 3/4 of a full circle all the way around, which is so impressive and cool. And the way that they're able to do that is by having a very flexible joint that attaches their neck to their skull. So the joint right at the base of their skull that their backbone goes into is very flexible and bendy, so they're able to swivel around. They're also able to flip their heads upside down and see behind them, which is really cool. And then they also have extra bones in their neck that allow them a little bit more rotation. So Fern actually has twice as many bones in her neck as a human does. She has 14 tiny little cervical vertebrae in there that make up her neck, which is funny because they look like they don't have necks, but they actually have 14 little tiny bones that are in their neck area, and that's twice as many as a human has. So we only have 7, and she has 14. So she is really good at spinning that head all the way around. What they'll do is when they're sitting in a tree in the woods, they're usually sitting up on a branch, they're listening, they're using their amazing hearing to listen for mice running around on the forest floor or really anything. These guys are wonderful generalists. They'll eat pretty much anything. So they'll sit on a tree, on a branch in the woods at night and wait to hear something scurry along underneath them, and then they'll point their head in the direction of that noise, and that circle of feathers on their face will actually tune into that sound, make it even louder, and it'll help them to pinpoint exactly where that sound is coming from so they can go pounce on that animal and catch it. So they're very efficient hunters. Nice job. These guys are in the middle of their breeding season right now. So they had their, they laid their eggs, they mated and laid their eggs probably sometime in April. Those eggs most likely hatch sometime in May, and then they actually spend the entire summer and some of the fall raising their babies. They spend a lot of time compared to other birds being parents. So these guys will sit and incubate eggs for about a month, and then those babies will be in the nest for another month or so. And then what they do is, because they're nesting usually in cavities up in trees, little holes in trees, what they'll do is those babies will, come out onto the branches surrounding their nest and start learning how to branch out from the nest. They'll just kind of walk out onto the branches. And the other thing that little baby owls do really well is climb, which is kind of odd, but they will use their beaks and their talons to help climb if they fall down a tree. So they're really good climbers. It's a weird thing to see, but they can climb. And then these guys will spend the entire summer raising their babies. So once those babies have kind of branched out from the nest, they've worked on their flight muscles. They may be able to do a little bit of flight. They're going to take those babies in the late summer to a hunting ground that's really, really rich in prey, and the whole family is going to stay there while the parents teach the babies how to hunt. They have to stay with their parents for so long because they need to learn how to be good hunters in order to survive in the wild. So they'll go to this area. The parents will start out by kind of just dropping mice at their feet and wiggling them around and getting the babies to start pouncing. And then they will, maybe kill a mouse halfway and then let the baby finish it off. And then eventually the baby will be killing its own prey. And usually that process is all wrapped up in around like September. So those babies are ready to be on their own for that first winter after they were born. So they spend a good half of the year raising and taking care of their babies. They're fantastic parents. And actually Fern and Byron, for a little while there, did have a baby barred owl that was in the enclosure with them that they were fostering, who is actually now being fostered by another releasable patient. So these two did have their own little foster baby for a while, which was very sweet. Hi, Miss Fern. I know. Hello. If you guys have any questions about Fern, I would be happy to answer them. I know we've talked a lot about owls and their amazing adaptations, but if you guys have any questions about her, we're happy to answer them. She was originally hit by a car. We suspect she's somewhere around 2 at this point. We do think that she was a first-year bird based on her feathers when she came in. First-year babies will grow all their feathers in at once. And so when you get a first-year bird, you'll be able to see that all their feathers are fresh and new. And then if they're older, only like every other feather molts every year. So you can kind of see that in the feathers. It's very cool. Good morning, Lisa. Hello. Hi, Bonnie. Hello. That's a great question, Kara. We have not ever, in my experience, had any rejections. And what we do is we just very gradually introduce them by having the babies in like a crate or a dog kennel to start out. So they're in a box that these guys can't get into, and they are usually nestlings, so they're not really ready to be hopping around the whole enclosure yet. So they're in a smaller container within the larger enclosure for a while. And that gets the parents used to their presence, their sounds that they're making. And it's in a lot of these guys' instincts to be parents. It's something that we don't have to teach them. They kind of already know how to do. So for example, our great horned owls, Gaia came to us as a baby. She was probably only like a few months old, but she's fostered many, many babies in her time here. So it's an instinct that they have. The only time that we probably would not give an ambassador a foster baby is in the case of like Lucy, who is imprinted on people and probably would not teach that baby the right things or be, interested in teaching that baby. A lot of imprinted animals will act aggressively toward other members of their species. So that would really be the only case that we would think about not giving that animal a foster baby. So right now, for example, Violet, our turkey vulture ambassador, actually has 2 foster babies that she is raising, and we didn't teach her that. She kind of has done that successfully on her own. She is a really, really good mom. She's, you know, they're a little much to handle. They're a handful, but she does a great job. And little turkey vulture babies are really hysterical looking. So Naomi, she is about, we suspect, around 2 years old. So she was a first-year bird when she came into us about a year ago, and she is now a year older, so she's 2. Susan asks, do the fosters remain with Fern during the phase when they learn to hunt? So we did have a foster in with Fern and Byron, but we decided to move it over to our clinic side, just because Maeve is right next to Byron and Fern, and that poor little baby was getting screamed at all the time. And then we also are going in and out of the ed hall all the time, and it's just a lot of noise for that little baby. So we have the barred owl baby in with another patient that's rehabilitating. So it's still being able to be fostered just by a patient, and it's a lot quieter over there. But the great horned owl babies that are in with Galileo and Gaia are in that stage right now. They can fly pretty well. They're old enough to be learning how to hunt, so they are in with Galileo and Gaia, and those guys are kind of helping them along on that journey. We will go in and drop off mice, and have observed, you know, Galileo and Gaia kind of like giving it to them. So yeah, they will stay with them until they really are old enough to be released, which would be in kind of the early fall, late summer. So yeah, so yes, they do stay with their parents while they're learning how to hunt. It's very cool. Yeah, and we still have a lot of summer left to go, so those babies will be with Galileo and Gaia for probably another month to 6 weeks. So, do you give them live prey when they're learning how to hunt? Kara, this is a great question. So we don't usually give live prey to our ambassadors. Many of them are injured and would not be able to hunt a live animal, but we do have a test that we do before an animal goes off on its own in the wild. We will put a live mouse in the enclosure with them. It's called live testing them, and if they're able to successfully kill it, then we know that they're ready. So yes, we do 1 or 2 live tests on a bird before we put it back out into the wild, just to make sure. These are never patient mice. These are never mice that people have brought to us, or never animals that we have in our clinic. They're always purchased, and they're similar to like the feeder mice that you would find at a pet store. But we do live tests just in that case. Most of the time we are not feeding live prey. If those mice got out, we'd have a very bad mouse problem. So we try to limit it. That's a great question though, Kara. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please let me know. As always, there is a donate button on all of our videos, and we really, really appreciate all of the donations. I was so amazed. Yesterday, someone donated $100 to Percy's video, which is so, so sweet. But we are really grateful to everyone for donating so much to these videos. It's really made a huge difference in terms of our ability to keep going. The education team here is so grateful for you guys, so thank you so much. I'm just going to turn the camera around one more time. Hi. So you guys can get a good look at Miss Fern. She is very, very tired looking, but she is still perfectly healthy, still going about her business, still eating very well, and she has Byron to help her to keep herself preened and everything. That's one of the benefits of keeping these guys in a mated pair, like Byron and Fern together, is that they will preen each other. So a part of their living together is kind of helping each other out when they're molting. So one will come over and kind of scratch the back of the other one's head, to those feathers that they can't get to. It's really sweet. So they will help each other out. So you scratch my back, I scratch yours, kind of situation. So they're very, very sweet. Nice job, Miss Fern. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please let me know. But otherwise, we're going to put Miss Fern back. She is a nocturnal animal after all, so she is a little bit sleepy and ready to go back. But I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys. And then as always, we will be back tomorrow with another ambassador friend. And we'll be doing these all month long. So I know. Yeah, Bertram, Kara, if Bertram doesn't get fed before we do these videos, he's very vocal about it during them. So we try to give Bertram his food before we go and do the Facebook Live, because usually he's yelling the whole time. And yeah, yep. All right, thank you guys so much. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Naomi. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Susan. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you later.